Guys, good Wednesday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world, right here on the I Love CVille Network on a glorious afternoon to be above the mud. Of course, we're presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, the dispensary located next to Rapture. Its name is Skooma, and it's the best in town. David and his beautiful wife at Skooma Boutique Dispensary have what you need: pain management, relaxation, just getting a sleep through the night. Skooma Boutique Dispensary, certificates of analyses for everything in the store. So much to cover, guys, today on the show, including, but not limited to, the Everyday Cafe on Pantops. Its deli and inside restaurant being pivoted, changed, altered forevermore from a deli into a gambling parlor. Yes, you heard me correctly, a gambling parlor. That story in a matter of moments on the I Love CVille Show. Iron Paffles and Coffee on Water Street is for sale. Our friend Stu Rifkin has the listing. Catherine Matthews, the proprietor, the chef, and visionary businesswoman behind Iron Paffles and Coffee. She's had some things change in her life. Her business that we've fallen in love with is now on the market and could be yours. That story on the I Love CVille Show. The University of Virginia has a new COVID vaccination booster policy for students and staff this spring. UVA will require all students, faculty, and staff to get COVID-19 vaccine boosters in order to work, study, have fun on grounds this coming spring semester. I got that story for you on the program. We have a new grilled cheese restaurant opening on the downtown mall. Scott Aaronworth, for years, I've been campaigning my favorite Esquire in Virginia Beach for a grilled cheese restaurant in the city of Charlottesville. And lo and behold, we have one on the very near horizon. Timberwood Taphouse released a statement about an hour ago. Due to the current status of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant, we have decided to temporarily close our restaurant. Our staff will be getting tested and will return when we can guarantee their safety. Have a safe holiday, everyone. As always, be kind to one another. Scott Williams, hello, my friend. Fantastic entrepreneur. Scott Williams, changing the lives of kids in our community. Judah Wickower camera. Can we go to the Judah cam? And we get a holiday Christmas sweater of tremendous proportions. In fact, when you're on camera, give me a thumbs up. You are on camera. Look at that. Someone give J Dubs some props. That's my boy J Dubs. That looks good, dude. Give us the nitty-gritty and the story behind that sweater before we head to the rundown of news, J Dubs.
Well, my mom gave me an early Christmas present, not quite an ugly Christmas sweater, but a funny Christmas sweater. And this guy's a funny artist. He does, if you haven't seen him, I think it's called Strange Planet. He does aliens in place of humans doing silly things.
I love it. Can we get a stand-up from you again one more time? I think it's super dope, dude. Super dope. J-Dub's looking dope. Look at that sweater. Give Judah some props. Give it a little like and a share over there and hit that like button for J.W. Wickower right there. Looking good, dog.
Cyclical salutations.
Cyclical salutations. Can you say that 3 times fast?
Cyclical salutation. No.
It's so hard. It's so hard. All right, let's get ready to rock and roll. And Judah, I want your beautiful mind and perspective in the mix. Bill McChenzie, Scott Aaronworth. We'll get to these comments here in a matter of moments. Thank you for sharing the show, Bill McChenzie. We appreciate that very much. Yes, we will get to the gambling parlor. That is going to be the Everyday Cafe. Yes, we will get to Iron Paffles and Coffee for sale. Yes, we will get to the potential temporary hiatus or permanent hiatus of restaurants across this community as Omicron is starting to gain some momentum. I want to start the program on Omicron first. Look, I know this pandemic and this variant are frightening for some. I know they make us apprehensive, uncertain, and I know they conjure feelings and emotions of vulnerability. Here's the difference. We are much more prepared for Omicron than we were for this pandemic on its onset in March of 2020. We have a tremendous portion of the Charlottesville and Albemarle County population who have been vaccinated. A tremendous portion of the Commonwealth population that's been vaccinated, and a tremendous portion of the American population that's been vaccinated. We are way more prepared to toe-to-toe battle Omicron than we were prepared for COVID on the onset. When COVID first hit America in March of 2020, it was David and Goliath. We had a pandemic that had never been experienced by mankind. And the world and mankind was left with a slingshot and a couple of rocks to battle a pandemic that was monumental and massive. Today, a couple of sleeps before Christmas, we have the tools and the resources. We have the knowledge, the empirical data, and the evidence. We have the track record, the case studies, and the data to justify what we're doing with Omicron. Yeah, it spreads faster. Sure, it's more contagious. But please, I pray and hope that you don't focus on the negativity. Realize that the collateral damage of this variant is significantly less from a health standpoint than other versions of COVID. It's more contagious, sure, but the collateral health damage is considerably less severe. And with vaccinations almost ubiquitous now, with vaccines becoming almost common sense, and with folks willing to wear masks, social distance, and do the right thing, we're ready. We're ready. And guys and gals, prepare yourselves. After Christmas and New Year's, we'll see a spike in cases because we're getting together with our family and friends. But that's no reason to live life in fear. It's no reason to live life in fear. I'm now triple vaccinated. My wife's triple vaccinated. J-Dubs has been vaccinated. We got this. It is not David with a slingshot and a couple of rocks going against Goliath. Today, it's much more Floyd Mayweather going against Manny Pacquiao. It's much more Kevin Durant going toe-to-toe against LeBron James. The University of Virginia's Tony Bennett going toe-to-toe with Mike Krzyzewski. Manageable. Stephanie, we'll get to those comments, and I'm sorry to hear this, of what you guys are going through, and we'll get to it in a matter of moments. I just want to emphasize the resources, the tools, the data, the masks, the vaccinations, the knowledge. Nearly 2 darn years of dealing with this makes us much more prepared as opposed to the unprepared nature we had in March of 2020 when the ACC basketball tournament was being canceled, when the NCAA March Madness tournament was being canceled, when sports were being canceled, and when government was demanding that we quarantine and stay inside our homes and taking away many of our rights and liberties. That is not going to happen now. I wanted to start the show with that. Lauren, hello. We'll get to some comments. Bill McKenzie says, Everyday Cafe sounds like a Clovid cluster to me. I will get to the gambling parlor that's on the horizon on Pantops. Scott Aaronworth is coming for his foodcation, February 10th through 14th. And Stephanie Wells Rhodes says, Omicron is horrible. 8 of us have tested positive, and all but 2 are vaccinated. I am sorry to hear that. In fact, I'm going to change my like to a heart for you and your family, because you know I love you guys dearly. Let's get to the everyday cafe news that I published on the I Love CVille Network over the weekend. First, let me set the stage. The Everyday Cafe is located on Pantops. It's across from the Giant Shopping Center. And Judah, when you have something poignant to offer, please let me know.
All right.
Whether it's Omicron, the Everyday Cafe, or how you look so damn cool in that sweater. Okay? Please let me know, because I want to get the Judah camera in the mix as much as humanly possible, because you're good people, you're well-read, and I like you quite a bit. The Everyday Cafe is across from the Giant Shopping Center on Pantops. At one time, the Everyday Cafe was this popular hangout of retired folks and working folks alike. It had this massive sitting area with booths all over the cafe. Think of the Tiger Fuel Bel Air Market, but amplified considerably with space. Bel Air Market on Ivy Road has some of the best sandwiches in Charlottesville. As Taylor Sutton said on the I Love CVille Network, who doesn't love a delicious French bread sandwich? I certainly do. One of the things that I would love from the Bel Air Market and its sister markets, Mill Creek has one. There's a number of Tiger Fuel locations across the area. It's potentially places to sit and enjoy the sandwiches inside. That's what the Everyday Cafe was offering patrons for 20 years. I go in this past weekend to the Everyday Cafe to fill up my tank of gas and to get a to-go menu, because when you live on the east side of Albemarle County, in like the Keswick, Shadwell area, there's just not a lot from a food or dining standpoint, especially in the weekend hours and the later evening hours. So I'm like, sweetheart, Mrs. Miller, why don't we get a to-go menu and we'll consider potentially ordering from here as I head home from I Love CVille to meet you and our son for dinner. Couple of nights a week, I try to pick up dinner. She says it's probably one night. I'll be realistic. One night a week, I try to pick up dinner, bring it home, so she doesn't have to cook. She does a hell of a job running our house, my beautiful wife. So I'm like, let me get a to-go menu. I'll have it for you. I talked to the manager. I talked to the staffers in there this weekend. I'm like, get me, please, if you could, kindly, a to-go menu so I could show to my wife. And immediately, I saw the angst and the frustration and the bitterness and sadness on the face of the staffers inside the Everyday Cafe. And I said, guys, remember, my first job out of UVA was as a reporter, so I'm extremely inquisitive by nature. And I said, guys, what's the matter? Why the bitterness and sadness? And finally, somebody spoke up. They said on the 1st of January, the deli and the cafe inside the gas station will be closing. All the team members will lose their jobs, including some that have 20 plus years of tenure at this business. And I said, what? Why? And the response was supply chain issues and a lack of customer demand throughout the pandemic. And then I walk back, I shuffle my feet left in front of right, left in front of right, left in front of right, from the cash register to the cafe. And I look around and I immediately see 8 skill machines. Can you go to Instagram.com/I Love CVille on the desktop? And can you take a screenshot of the Everyday Cafe and the gambling machines that are in there so we can show it on screen, J-Dubs?
All right.
Thank you kindly. I immediately go to the booths and the sitting areas of the cafe, and I count 8 skill machines. And I want to cut to the chase. The skill machines are gambling, and it's arguably one of the lowest forms of gambling. The type of gambling that requires little skill set, little understanding of games frankly, no skill at all, the type of gambling that preys like a lion does in the wilderness on low-income, uneducated individuals. How many of us have gone into a gas station somewhere in the Commonwealth, somewhere in the country, somewhere in the world, and we've seen folks sitting on stools in little corners of the gas station, pumping money into slot machines at the gas station? I have. Well, I have yet, in Charlottesville or Albemarle County, I have yet to see a Parlor. Everyday Cafe. Yes, sir. It should be on the Instagram if you see it. I have yet to see a Parlor, okay? And by Parlor, I mean, it might not be on the Instagram, J-Dubs. It might be on the I Love CVille group on Facebook. I apologize for leading you astray there. I've yet to see an aggregation of machines outside of 1, 2, or 3. I went into the Everyday Cafe and I counted 8. And they were getting ready for more. And I stood there and I watched for about 5 minutes. And I watched as folks were transfixed, mesmerized, eyes glued to the screen like my 3.5-year-old when watching Blippi, Thomas the Train, when watching Sesame Street, when watching any of the stuff he does on YouTube. You want a 3.5-year-old or a kid to behave, you give them an iPhone or an iPad, and next thing you know, they are transfixed, mesmerized. They are hypnotized. Their eyes cannot get off the screen. It's almost like an addiction. It's unhealthy. Screen time is unhealthy for children. I see that same transfixion, that same hypnotization with the folks that are playing these skill games. And it's strictly a branding, perception, management strategy. By calling them skill games instead of slot machines, you're managing perception. So here we are. We had a destination that was a place that catered to locals, working class, retired, that offered internet and a comfortable place to sit and chat and get some stuff done. It's being transitioned and converted into a gambling parlor with 8 skill machines are already there. More are coming. People lost their jobs over the holidays. Some that, look at the screen. Look at the screen now. Please, everyone that's watching, look at the screen now. You see a little snapshot of the slots. David Varell, who's watching in the Outer Banks. Remember when we used to meet the Luxottica rep, the sunglass rep at the Everyday Cafe? We'd have a couple of pops, and we'd look at the sunglasses he had for Hollywood shades. We did that all the time, my friend. Do you remember? Now you go there, and it's a gambling parlor. And people often ask, what party, political party, do you most identify with? Jerry, you're running for Board of Supervisors. I know you do, DV. I love you, David Varell. Merry Christmas to your family. And people often ask, Jerry, what political party do you most identify with? I most identify with the political party of common sense. Common sense. And rolling out skill games that prey on uneducated, low-income citizens. What is that going to do? It's going to keep them low-income and uneducated. Okay? And I am a free market guy. I heard this from Paul McCarter the other day. Paul McCarter, I'm giving you some props. I thought you and Jen did a heck of a job on the show on Monday. Okay? I am a small L libertarian. when it comes down to it, fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I don't want the government in my pocket telling me what to do. I'm a free market guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner. Every day I have to get up, I have to put my pants on, put my shirt on, button my shirt, do my zipper, put my belt on, walk out the door, and figure out a way how to feed my family and J-Dubs. Some say it's a contradiction for you to say you're opposed to skill games and you're opposed to the government not permitting them. And I say, in the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friends. The government has laws to protect people, speed limits, age restrictions on drinking and smoking, laws on the back of cigarette packs that identify the additives and chemicals and bad stuff in cigs, laws that restrict when folks can join military, laws associated with big pharma and big tobacco and big booze. The laws that are associated with gambling are much further behind. And preying on the weak, much like a pack of wolves prey on an antelope with a broken leg, devouring the antelope's body as their dinner because that antelope is not healthy and ready to survive. That is what's happening with skill games in this community. In communities across the Commonwealth. Now people, I'll get off this topic here in a matter of moments. People are like, what about the lottery, Jerry? What about the lotto? Well, the lotto is not a good use of your financial resources either. But at least it's way more regulated than skill games. At least we know the financial benefits of lottery, ironically, are going to schools and education in Virginia. That's irony right there. The proceeds of the lotto are going to education. Bill McChenzie, the future land use map is a good example. Dave Rell in the Outer Banks, I love seeing you on your boat and you and Kathy enjoying that beautiful life that you guys have created through hard work. Everyday Cafe lays off massive amounts of people, takes away a family-friendly environment, and repositions the family-friendly environment into a gambling parlor. 2021, right before the holidays, in eastern Albemarle County. All right, next topic. The University of Virginia will require all students and faculty and staff to get a COVID-19 vaccination booster shot if they want to study, work, play, have fun on grounds this coming spring semester. That announcement was made yesterday. You know what? This is another issue I'm torn on. Medical mandates. Mandates associated with new vaccinations that don't have a lot of data and research behind them. I'm torn on this, but my perspective has evolved. And why my perspective has evolved is because I want to put COVID in the rearview mirror. I'm a free market guy. And the path to free market freedom is putting COVID behind us. And the way we're going to put COVID behind us and return to free market freedom is through vaccinations. in squashing the pandemic. The quickest path to free market freedom is healthcare innovation. Pfizer and Moderna and BioNTech and Johnson & Johnson have put billions and billions of dollars and millions of man-hours behind these vaccinations. And right now, we don't have another path that's more optimized to free market freedom than vaccinations. So if the University of Virginia feels compelled to require students, faculty, and staff to get booster shots for spring semester normalcy, then so be it. You got a take on that, J-Dubs? You got a take on the Everyday Cafe? You don't have to. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Let me know if you want to jump in here. I love that big or beautiful brain.
I think you put it pretty well. With UVA, I mean, I don't really agree with mandated anything, especially with COVID. I think there's just too much uncertainty. But at the same time, they're an employer. They've got to look out for the health and safety of not only a lot of young people, but also their teachers, some of whom are probably older and would be hit harder if they were to catch this. So, it's...
How would you respond if I said, J-Dubs, you got to get vaccinated to come to work? Which I did not do that. Anyone who's watching knows I did not do that. Did I ever say that?
No.
No.
You pressured.
I didn't pressure. I encouraged. Tomato. I said the Blue Ridge Health District bus is open for vaccinations on Monday in the downtown mall, and then we just happened to be off the downtown mall. Do you remember?
The bus?
The Blue Ridge Health District set up like a pop-up vaccination tent and little van for people to get injected. And you realize for 5 years I've been trying to do the Judah camera because I respect your opinion on that. It's on Mondays. You don't go that way for your breaks.
Yeah.
And you're not parking under the Belmont Bridge anymore, right? So you wouldn't pass it.
But when I did get vaccinated, I was parking under the bridge, and I had to go get my car to run an errand for you.
And that's when you got the vaccination.
And I went by the pavilion, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to get vaccinated?" And I was like, "I'm kind of busy. How long does it take?"
And they said a couple of minutes.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, it won't take any time at all."
And you got it.
And then they're like, "There's another." I was the only person there.
And guess what?
2 ladies, and one of them was holding Liza. And
Liza's the dog.
I'm like, "All right, can I go yet?" And they're like, "No, you got to wait 15 minutes." I'm like, "What?"
Well, you don't have to wait 15 minutes unless you're showing symptoms associated with the vaccination, like dizziness or not feeling well.
They've got to hold you 15 minutes to make sure you don't show those.
I mean, you could also say, I don't feel those and just leave. But I respect the fact that you say the 15 minutes. And let me ask you a question.
I stayed 8.
Did you?
I was like, look, I got stuff to do. I'm still at work.
Yeah. And let me ask you this. Have you felt sick associated with COVID? Have you been hospitalized? Have you been down for the count or in bed or missed multiple days of work?
You saying because I got the vaccine, have any of those things happened?
Because you got the vaccine, I feel like, and I don't want to speak for you, but me certainly, and having conversations with my wife, we feel more protected. We feel less at risk.
I don't necessarily feel more protected. I mean, for instance, my mom's got the booster, and she just got COVID.
Okay, and we don't have to go down this road if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Okay, your mom's got the booster, so she's triple vaxxed now. She got 2 initially.
I think she got the double. I don't know if she got the double or the J&J.
And then she got the booster.
Yeah.
But she never went to the hospital, did she?
No.
She never got severely sick, did she?
All I'm saying
Did she take hospital beds from folks that had heart ailments, cancer, or cardiovascular issues?
Wait, what?
Throttling hospital personnel and resources. That's what's happening. people that aren't vaccinated are having much more adverse reactions to this, and as a result, hospital personnel is having to accommodate patients that have ailments associated with COVID as opposed to
I understand that.
cardiovascular cancer, etc.
But then our government should be advertising these vaccines and boosters as something to lower your risk of being seriously affected, rather than saying that this will stop the spread, because it clearly does not stop the spread. And so if
I would say that, okay, I don't mean to cut you off and then you finish your thought here. I would say the government is advertising and promoting. In fact, so is Wall Street, so is Main Street, and so is mainstream media, that if you're vaccinated, the collateral damage health-wise is less severe than if you're unvaccinated. I feel like that is in the mainstream.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
I actually don't pay much attention to.
Judah gets his news from the I Love CVille Show.
Somewhat. I mean, I'm not watching news on TV. I'm not watching. I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to whatever they're trying to sell me on Facebook or anywhere else. But still, you see a lot of things, and I just feel like a lot of this push is trying to convince people that this is going to end COVID. But is it?
Okay.
If the vaccine...
That's a fair point.
If you can take the vaccine and the booster and wear a mask and still catch COVID and still pass it on, it seems a little disingenuous to pretend like COVID is just going to be over someday.
That's a fair point. And Stephanie Wells Rhodes makes the point, 8 of us have tested positive and all but 2 are vaccinated. So what she's saying is, we're vaccinated and still we're getting it.
Yeah.
Which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will add to this, at least we are not taxing hospital resources, which could potentially diminish elective surgeries.
That's a fair argument, but even before we had a vaccine, not everybody was ending up in the hospital close to death. A lot of people had this like the flu, and originally kids, if they got it, were hardly even affected at all, if I remember correctly.
Kids are immune to this for the most part.
And now it's I don't know. I just feel like there's no real leadership in charge of the narrative.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I feel like managing the perception or managing the COVID brand has lacked a North Star. And don't get me started, nor Judah started, on Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Oh, man.
That's a topic for a completely different show. Bill McKenzie says the UVA students scatter all over the holidays and return from elsewhere to Charlottesville. Common sense says getting boosted and flu shorted is the best preventative measure. I'm in agreement there. Scott Aaronworth, I see your text message there. He slightly disagrees, Scott Aaronworth, with your take on COVID. But the beautiful thing about a talk show and the beautiful thing about Charlottesville in our country is we can have these discussions and we can respectfully agree to disagree. The very unfortunate aspect of a pandemic never seen by mankind is there no right answer. Certainly not, 19 months into this damn thing?
Apparently not.
19 months into it. We have the 2-year anniversary in March for this thing. I cannot believe we've been doing this for 2 years. Kelly Postle Jackson, Kelly, big time props to you. Kelly, are you, I won't say the brand, Kelly, I'll give you some anonymity. I think by now people know which brand you own in this community. She's an employer that employs, how many folks you got, KJ? 1,000 plus? Couple thousand. How many people you employ, KJ? She says the unvaccinated get sicker and take up hospital beds. What happens if you have a heart attack or stroke and there are no beds for you? That's the point I'm making as well, KJ. Very well said. That's the point I'm making. And I want to throw this topic to you, Mackenzie. She says about 1,200 employers. So her family's business is one of the largest employers. Now, I will say this, they're not all in Central Virginia. I was about to say one of the largest employers in Central Virginia, but if memory serves correct, KJ, they're across the Commonwealth, right? Am I right there? She's about 1,200 employees. Do you agree with there's no end to COVID and it is not time to let your guard down? I agree with that. I will say this before we go on to a different topic. And I'm curious of your take on this because you know I respect your take, Holmes. COVID is going to be a part of our, Noel Jurgensen, I will get to your comments. COVID is going to be a part of our lives like the common cold or like the flu. It's going to be something we deal with for the rest of our lives. Certainly, Jude and I's life, Noel's life, Bill's life, KJ's life, Stephanie's life. And how we manage the flu is a vaccination. How we manage the chicken pox. Okay, how do we...
I've never gotten a flu vaccine.
Have you gotten a chicken pox vaccination? Yes, you had to have a chicken pox vaccination to go to school.
No, because kids get chicken pox all the time. My sister's got chicken pox. I never got it.
You're telling me you don't have the chicken pox vaccination?
I didn't even know there was one.
Ay, mi madre.
Is there?
Yeah.
Then how did my sisters get chicken pox?
You get the chicken pox when you're an adult. It's much more dangerous than when you get it when you're a kid. I would very much encourage you to get some chicken pox protection, my friend, okay? Please get some chicken pox protection. The protection is not some Goza beers from Three Notch. Noel Jurgensen says people have a choice to take the vaccine or not, but universities and businesses have a choice to allow you to use their services if you pick to not vaccinate. I'm in agreement there. You send your kids to public schools or private schools, you send your kids to private or public schools, the school system says these are the vaccinations that you have to get before you get an education from us. And Noel said you probably had the chicken pox when you were little. Should we reach out to J&A to see if you got the chicken pox?
They wouldn't remember. I probably.
J&A would remember. Your parents would remember if you've been vaccinated from the chicken pox.
Well, I've probably been vaccinated. I'm just looking it up. It says you usually get it between, 12 and 15 months old. I don't know.
Stephanie says the chickenpox vaccine came out. Stephanie Wells Rhodes. The chickenpox vaccine came out when my kids were in school, not when I was in school, not when I was young. Stephanie, you and I are very similar age. Stephanie Wells Rhodes. You are 32 years old, right, Stephanie? You're 32 years old, Stephanie Wells Rhodes.
Chickenpox vaccine has been available since 1995, so I would not have it.
1995. I thought it was older than that.
My sisters both got the chicken pox, I think it was in California. They were probably...
I know I got the chicken pox vaccination, so that means I got it when I was a teenager.
You were still in school in 95.
I was still in school. You were still in school in 95?
No, I graduated high school in 93.
Okay, so you were in college. I wonder if USC or Savannah College of Art and Design, you don't think they did?
No. The only shot that I got when I was at
Does the universe... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The only shot that I got while I was in college was something for going to Haiti.
Going to Haiti? Was that a mission trip?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting some props from Mandy Wickower. She says hello. She's giving you the heart emoji. Can you give Mandy some props, your beautiful sister?
Mandy, I love you.
You got the heart emoji from Mandy. Mandy, I like when you watch the program. If you don't believe in the science and the vaccine, then why do you go to the hospital when you're really sick and trust the science? Ooh, that's from KJ. KJ, I see what you're doing right there, KJ.
The only time
That's a legitimate argument, KJ.
The only time I've ever gone to the hospital was when I had pneumonia. And it felt like the flu, and after 2 weeks of continuing to work and hardly being able to breathe.
Was that here?
Yeah. I went to...
You had pneumonia while working here?
Yeah.
When was that?
A few years ago.
I don't remember that.
I thought it was the flu. I was just like, I was exhausted and I just like couldn't breathe. And
Tricia says, "Where's your hat?"
And I'd go home. Do you want to put a hat on? No.
I'll wear a hat if you wear a hat.
I'll need to get a hat. Should I wear Keith's hat?
You can wear any hat you want. So finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize for interrupting you.
So I finally figured I needed to go get checked out. So I went to one of the quick med places, whatever they're called.
And they said you had pneumonia?
Yeah, they're like, you've got pneumonia. So they gave me some pills to take and said, take them all. Don't stop before you're done. And then I went on a fishing trip with my dad. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. I mean, we're going fishing. It's not like I'm doing anything strenuous.
I feel terrible. I didn't know you had pneumonia. Bill McChenzie, we're live on 15 Facebook pages, 15 Twitter accounts, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. You're going to put the hat on. McChenzie says, I didn't have a chickenpox vaccine. I did have chickenpox. We were vaccinated against smallpox, and I still have the round scar on my shoulder to prove it. J-Dubs has got the hat on right there. That's the Cindy Lou Who hat in honor of Keith Smith, who I believe is watching from the road.
It doesn't all show up on here. I might have to like...
On the way to Connecticut.
So people can see.
There you go. And that's Liza. If you move your chair back, people can see Liza behind you, too. There's Liza. There's Liza's head right over the brown chair. Liza, come over here, Liza. There's Liza, right behind Judah right there. We love. That is the best dog on the planet right there.
She's a sweetie.
That is the best dog on the planet.
Liza, sit. Sit.
Yeah, good girl, Liza Bean. Oh, Jeff Leonard. Watching the program here. This is via text message. I am not a libertarian, nor do I like the slot machines. Would it not be consistent with libertarianism to embrace the machines and their use regardless of one's economic status? That is a fair point. This is the Everyday Cafe topic. Remember, the Everyday Cafe on Pantops is being converted from a deli and a restaurant to a gambling parlor. And people found out during the holidays, including some employees that had worked at the Everyday Cafe for a couple of decades, that they had lost their jobs. And their employer said, you're out, hit the road, Jack, you're fired, here's your pink slip, peace out, don't let the door hit you on the way out, and we're going to convert the Everyday Cafe and the booths into gambling parlors. And Jeff makes a good point. I get this point, and I'll reiterate Jeff's point. I am not a libertarian, he says, nor do I like the slot machines. But would it not be consistent with libertarianism to embrace the machines and their use regardless of one's economic status? That's why I am a small L libertarian. That's why I identify with the party of common sense. I have issues with the slot machines because they prey on folks living on financial margin that are uneducated and at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. What's your take on the slot machines at the Everyday Cafe? You got a take on that?
Not really. I mean...
Have you seen them in the gas stations?
No,
it's not good.
I don't go to those gas stations. I see what you're saying. They're the people that are going to be playing those are not people, middle.
You can say it. Cut to the chase. You can say it.
Middle of the road, rich people. They're
sophisticated, educated, deep-pocketed, resourced, wealthy, well-heeled.
It's going to be people that
intelligent
are hoping to hit it big.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of money.
Because the odds of winning are nothing.
I don't know what the odds are. I don't know anything.
Have you ever played?
No.
There's a huge difference. And people then immediately say blackjack and poker. There's a huge difference between playing blackjack and poker and playing this video crack. A huge difference in a level of sophistication and intelligence and disposable income and wealth.
I haven't looked into the
huge difference.
The science of the odds of those machines, so I don't really know. But.
Thank you. David Varell in the Outer Banks. He says, yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. Video crack preys on the weak like a pack of wolves prey on a broken-legged antelope. Where blackjack and poker and table games are often associated with entertainment over the course of a vacation. video crack on a Tuesday afternoon at the Everyday Cafe on Pantops is very different than a couple of hours of blackjack at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. Very different. Very different. Anything else you want to add on that, or should we hit the next one?
Yeah, let's hit the next one.
Ticket prices at the John Paul Jones Arena. Get ready for this statistic. John Paul Jones Arena, of course, for those that don't know, is home to the University of Virginia men's basketball team. Tony Bennett, who in Charlottesville, Tony Bennett walks on water. Tony Bennett could take a couple of loaves of bread and a few fish and feed the thousands. Judah loves the biblical metaphors. I know you do.
No, I know how sports people are.
You don't think Tony Bennett could do that?
I don't know.
Tony Bennett can walk on water. He can walk on water. TB can walk on water. CTB can walk on water and take a few fish and a couple of loaves of bread and feed the thousands. UVA won a national championship in 2019. Here's the statistic for you. Ticket prices at JPJ are at a low not seen since 2013 and 2014. You can go to the Clemson game. UVA is playing Clemson tonight. Am I right on that? Let me do a quick check here. That game got moved to 8 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Yeah, Clemson. 7 p.m. tip-off, John Paul Jones Arena, ACC Network. It was slated for an 8 o'clock tip. Friends, there are tickets for the Clemson contest tonight that are as low as $3. How much is a pack of cigarettes?
Depends where you go. I'd say 6 to 8.
You can get 2 tickets to tonight's contest against Clemson. 2 tickets for lower than the price of a pack of cigarettes.
I'd even think about going to a game at that price.
$6 for 2 tickets. That ain't bad. I mean, you're not going to have courtside seats, but 6 bones for 2 tickets to Clemson? The Virginia Tech game has tickets for $10 at the John Paul Jones Arena. Wake Forest tickets for $21. Louisville tickets for $7. Boston College tickets for $5 Bs. Miami tickets for $18. Georgia Tech $18. Duke tickets for as low as $146. $146 for Duke. Otherwise, tickets that would be going for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. Now, that is a reflection of 2 things. Obviously, that's a reflection of COVID and the pandemic. And obviously, that's a reflection of a basketball team that is somewhat down this year. Somewhat down. Okay? Virginia is 7-4 and 1-0 in conference play. And you want to know why Virginia is struggling this year? They had 3 guys transfer to other programs. Casey Morsell is making a big-time impact in Raleigh at NC State. He was the top dog of Tony Bennett's recruiting class that year. Mr. McCoy is riding the pine at UNC. McCoy would be getting significant minutes in the front court for UVA this season. And Abdul Rahim is a key contributor in Athens for the Georgia Bulldogs. All 3 of those players were the focal point or the best athlete of their recruiting class in their respective year of recruitment at UVA. They transferred, and Coach Bennett has had to replace that talent with Mr. Franklin, the transfer from Indiana, and Mr. Gardner, the transfer from ECU. Mr. Gardner is a beast, but he's undersized. He's 6'6". He does not have a long frame. He does not jump out of the gym. He's physical. He works hard, but he has physical and athletic limitations. And you certainly see those physical and athletic limitations on the defensive side of the ball. And you will most certainly see those physical and athletic limitations come ACC play when Virginia's schedule gets much more arduous. Mr. Franklin, the transfer from Indiana, from the Hoosiers, for a string of games in a row, dude couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. He had a Wilson basketball and was asked to take Wilson and throw the rock into the James River, into the Rivanna River, and he couldn't do it. J-Dubs, you're chuckling over there. Why are you chuckling, dog?
That's hilarious.
Which part?
He couldn't throw the ball into the ocean.
He couldn't throw the ball into the ocean.
How far away was he?
It's a phrase. It's a phrase. It's a turn of speech. It's a turn of speech, Judah. He couldn't. He could not throw it into the ocean. $3 tickets to tonight's game against Clemson. For $6, less than a pack of cigarettes, you can get 2 tickets to watch UVA play Clemson in an ACC brouhaha of tremendous proportions. $6. Support the Who's. All right, next topic. I will get to your comments here. Kelly Jackson said she'll hire all the Everyday Cafe team members. Panera pays well, and it's family owned, and Panera does it right. Yes, there is, Tricia Wickower. There's a mask mandate, and there's not a vax mandate. There's a negative test or vaccine proof. So you can either show a negative test within it's either 24 or 48 hours, or proof of vaccination. Do you have your proof of vaccination in your pocket?
In my wallet, I think.
In your wallet?
Oh, but I don't have my wallet on me, so.
You left it at home?
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
I just started, I rarely use anything in my wallet, so I just.
Do you have your driver's license?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I've got.
All right. Well, then that's
credit
fine.
cards, driver's license.
Yeah, you don't need your wallet. Yeah, that's completely cool. Completely cool. I thought you forgot your wallet altogether.
No.
Okay. You're prepared. I like it. $3. But Tricia, you are certainly right. The vaccination mask mandate or proof of a negative test is also impacting turnout to the John Paul Jones Arena, as is the pandemic, as is Omicron, and as is a team that's underachieving and underperforming right now, which Virginia certainly is, compared to standards of the past, in particular 2019's magical and cherished run to the national championship. A couple of other topics, and then we'll get to these comments. Noel, we will get to your comments. We got 5 different states watching the program now, live on every social media platform known to mankind. Scott Aaronworth, this is for you, the Esquire who's watching in Virginia Beach. Scott Aaronworth, you know I love you, homie. I have been campaigning, chomping at the bit, utilizing this platform to encourage an entrepreneur in the restaurant and F&B space to launch a grilled cheese restaurant in Charlottesville. Yes, you heard me correctly, a grilled cheese restaurant. I want you to consider this. I'm going to paint a picture for you. What food is as synonymous as a grilled cheese sandwich with a side of tomato soup on a cold day? When you get the grilled cheese on sourdough, maybe you add some tomato and bacon. You pick quality cheese and quality bread, and I got to get your grilled cheese take, Judah Wickower. You get some cheese that's of high nature and good ingredient, some bacon, tomato on a sourdough. You crunch into it and you feel the crunch of the bread on the rooftop of your mouth. The cheese is hot and goos out the side of the sourdough bread. And then after that first bite, you repeatedly dunk, like you dunk an Oreo into a glass of milk, the cheese into tomato soup. And you dunk the grilled cheese into the tomato soup and you bite it and you eat it. That's comfort food. And it makes me wax nostalgic of lunches and sunset dinners at my grandmother's house in Hampton, Virginia, on Cumberland Avenue and Merrimack Shores. I've said so many times on this show, why is there not a grilled cheese focused restaurant in a town that fancies itself a world-class food destination, Judah. More restaurants per capita in Charlottesville than any other municipality. We're 14th in the country, restaurants per capita, number 14. There's only 13 other metro areas in the United States of America that have more restaurants per capita. Yet we have not had a grilled cheese focused restaurant or a Nashville hot chicken focused restaurant. That's changing in February, JW.
And until recently, a fast pasta place.
Which one are you referencing? The one on Downtown Mall? Luce?
Was it Presto?
I thought it was Luce. Daniel Kaufman has one on the corner.
Yeah.
Daniel, and they came on the show. But isn't it also Luce on the Downtown Mall? Scott Aaronworth, help me out here.
Could be. I haven't been there, but in Maine, like 25 years ago, I remember going into a place.
I think it's Luce, Luce.
You picked your pasta, you picked your sauce, you picked your like meat or whatever you wanted in there, and you went to the end of the line and they had it ready for you in like 5 minutes. It was amazing, and I've often wondered why I don't see that, And now we finally got something, I'm assuming, somewhat like that in Luce and Presto.
Yeah, well said.
But Charlottesville...
I'll give you some props for that, J-Dubs.
Charlottesville, for all its...
Okay, this where you're going to knock Charlottesville? I have a feeling you're going to knock Charlottesville right here.
I wouldn't say I'm knocking it.
What are you going to say?
I'd say for all of its acclaim as a foodie town, it's got some good restaurants, but I don't think I think it could better cover the bases of things like you're talking about. A good...
What else? Oh, Scott Aaronworth, Pronto. It's called Pronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's Pronto. He's right. That's right. It's Pronto, right?
Yeah.
Dude, the number one foodie in Charlottesville does not live in Charlottesville. He's an Esquire from Virginia Beach, and his name is Scott Aaronworth, who's watching right now. I will say that again, and this is coming from a guy who eats out all the time, who does it literally for his living at I Love CVille. The number one foodie in Charlottesville is Scott Aaronworth, an Esquire from Virginia Beach, who takes what he calls foodcations. He comes here for 4 to 5 day benders, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars supporting local food and restaurant entrepreneurs. Scott Aaronworth. Pronto is what it's called. You're exactly right. And David Varell, who's watching in the Outer Banks, you're exactly right. Tom and Chi, as seen on Shark Tank. I love the show Shark Tank. I know my friend David Varell does. There was a place, I think it was out of Cleveland. I think the initial Tom and Chi location was out of Cleveland. And these guys pitched to the Sharks a grilled cheese focused restaurant. Well, now, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we have one opening. We have a grilled cheese restaurant opening in Joffrey Woodruff's Code building on the Downtown Mall in Q1 of 2022. It is called, I'm looking this up really quickly, Ooey Gooey Crisp. Ooey, how do you spell gooey?
Gooey.
Gooey? Yeah, that's what it's called. Ooh, how do you spell ooey?
I would say Ooey.
Yeah, that's right. So how would you spell ooey gooey?
Put the two together.
That's right. Ooey, Gooey, crispy. Ooey gooey crispy. The URL, write this down everyone, is CVille Grilled Cheese. CVille Grilled Cheese. I'm on the website right now. Opening early 2022 in the Code building, the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs on the Charlottesville Downtown Mall, formerly known as the Charlottesville Ice Park. Ooey Gooey Crisp CVille Grilled Cheese is going to be a grilled cheese centric and focused restaurant out of the Code building on the Downtown Mall. Husband and wife from Washington, D.C. The wife formerly owned an artisanal, or is it artisanal?
I think of it as artisanal.
Does artisanal work?
You want me to look it up?
Is it artisanal or artisanal? How do you say, tomato or tomato? Do you say tomato? You're a tomato guy, aren't you? Or are you a tomato guy?
Tomato.
You say tomato.
Tomato?
You say tomato. You say tomato?
I say tomato.
Okay.
I don't.
So you say artisanal. Artisanal or artisanal, I think both work, don't they?
I say artisanal.
All right,
I'm
artisanal.
looking it up. It's artisanal.
Artisanal. It's artisanal.
Apparently.
Grilled cheese, big salads, soups and salads is what they got. Grilled cheese, big salads and soups. The wife formerly owned an artisanal cheese shop in Washington, D.C., and the husband is an experienced sous chef, line cook, and chef working in a number of restaurants in D.C., and at one time worked for Vivace on Ivy Road. I love it. I think they're going to do great. I think the Code building is going to do wonderful for the downtown mall. I think JW, and not this JW, but Joffrey Woodruff JW, is a major stakeholder and influencer. And someone please tell me I said this. JW, and not this JW with the Cindy Lou hat, but the guy who owns the hedge fund QIM is a major stakeholder and influencer on Charlottesville's downtown mall. And yes, the timing of opening the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs in the midst of a pandemic is not perfect, but once we get this behind us, Code, the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs, the former Ice Park, will be even more impactful to downtown Charlottesville than Willow Tree Apps ever was. And one of the biggest crocs of baloney, I was going to use a profanity there, one of the biggest crocs of baloney was City Council Charlottesville and the Economic Office of Development Charlottesville allowing Willow Tree Apps to leave the downtown mall for Albemarle County and the wool factory. Willow Tree Apps had an army, a plethora, a flock, a gaggle of people patronizing downtown Charlottesville for lunch, happy hour, and dinner and coffee breaks. And interestingly, the in-house counsel for Willow Tree Apps, Mike Signer, former city councilor, was a Charlottesville city councilor at the time that his firm that he was representing left the downtown mall for Albemarle County. I'll repeat that again. The in-house counsel for Willow Tree Apps, Mike Signer, was a city councilor in Charlottesville at the time Willow Tree was leaving the city of Charlottesville for Albemarle County. Code is going to have a hugely positive impact on downtown Charlottesville. And the building, I think, is just, Wolf Ackerman, the architects behind it, I think is just absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, last topic, and then we'll get to your comments here on the show. And J-Dubs, I want to get some of your takes. Melt in Cleveland. Tom and Chi is another one. Let's look up Tom and Chi. Tom and Chi is the one from Shark Tank. Tom and C-H-E-E. Tom plus Chi. Cincinnati, not Cleveland. Tom plus Chi is Cincinnati, and they were on Shark Tank. Cincinnati-based Tom and Chi, which gained notoriety after an appearance on the Shark Tank reality TV show in 2013, once had 35 locations. It was down to 23 units when GSR Brands, the parent company of the Gold Star chili chain, stepped up to buy it in 2017. So Tom and Chi was the Shark Tank grilled cheese focused business from Shark Tank. Tom and Chi. Last topic before we get to your comments on the program. Jordan, that's a very good question. I just got this text message from Jordan. I will ask this question right after I relay this bit of news to everybody that's watching. And I want you guys to realize this. All the news outlets in Charlottesville, print, radio, and television, watch this show. Take the topics from this show and put it into their newscast. That's fact. And the reason that happens is because the pay is so meager in print, radio, and television that the reporters are climbing the vertical ladder or leaving media altogether every 2 years. That's why in this market, we're not a top 125 market. Charlottesville is not a top 125 market with radio, TV, print. That's why this market, you see many of our reporters as being fresh out of college. They pay their dues. It's like pledging a fraternity or sorority. They work 2 years and they leave. The reason I know this is because I'm a former print, TV, and radio and television reporter. I did this before launching this business 13 years ago. First job out of the University of Virginia was working as a sports writer for the Daily Progress. I was making $10 an hour. I had to work from 4 p.m. to 1:30 in the morning, 5 days a week. My days off were on Mondays and Tuesdays. I worked every holiday, every weekend, at nights, and oftentimes would be leaving the newspaper on Rio Road at 2 in the morning. When I wasn't working for $10 an hour at the Daily Progress, I was supplementing my income doing syndicated radio for ESPN. Eventually had 13 affiliates air the Jerry Miller Show across 3 states. And I parlayed that into 2 talk shows at NBC 29 that required me to arrive at work at 3 in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays. It was an invigorating, adrenaline rush time of my life, but it was not the type of life that led to family and meeting a wife or raising kids or quality of life. You lived vicariously through your work. The last topic, the Melt Shop in New York City, is another one. Lauren says, New York City, the Melt Shop is another example of a grilled cheese focused restaurant. Timberwood Taphouse released this at about 12 p.m. We were the first to get it out there. Due to the current status of COVID-19 and the Omicron, is it Omicron?
I believe so.
Due to the current status of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant, we have decided to temporarily close our restaurant. This is Timberwood Taphouse in 5th Street Station. Our staff will be getting tested and will return when we can guarantee their safety. Have a safe holiday, everyone, and as always, be kind to one another. The older I've gotten, the more empathetic I've become. If you talk to my wife, she would say I have the empathy of, who is someone that didn't have much empathy? If you talk to my wife, Scrooge, you're such a dick. If you talk to my wife, she would say you have the empathy of Joseph Stalin.
I think I'd prefer to be associated with Scrooge than
Stalin. Than a dictator that murdered thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. I agree. At least Ebenezer Scrooge turned around and became one of high EQ, right?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
What?
But,
he did an about face, Ebenezer.
Did he?
Ebenezer did an about face.
He may have done an about face, but would you say that he turned into a person with a high EQ?
What would you describe his EQ as?
I don't know that I would.
You don't think Ebenezer was empathetic at the end? And we learned something yesterday on Real Talk I Love CVille Show about the ghosts of Christmas past.
What? That there were 4 of them?
Well, there were more.
Some of them sitting outside. Okay, but
4 interacted with Ebenezer, but there were more sitting outside.
Okay, but that doesn't speak to his
empathy.
emotional.
All right, fine. I will give you. You would rather be compared to Ebenezer Scrooge than Joseph Stalin. I'll give you that. I will give you that.
I think most people would.
Or Grinch. How about the Grinch or Ebenezer Scrooge? Who would you rather be compared to? The Grinch or Ebenezer Scrooge?
That's a tough one. I don't know.
I go Ebenezer. And what a cool name. I can guarantee you Ebenezer got beat up on the playground with the first name like Ebenezer.
You're saying that's why he became such a dick?
That's why he became a dick, is because his first name was Ebenezer. Can you say, I got first pick, I'm taking Ebenezer for dodgeball. Yeah. Ebenezer didn't get picked first.
They probably had different names that they beat kids up for back in like the 1730s.
Like what?
I don't know.
What's worse than Ebenezer?
Georgie?
Georgie?
I don't. You know how trends change.
I'd say Ebenezer is worse than Georgie.
Yeah, but some of these names, like we had a president whose first name was Ulysses. How many Ulysses have you met in the last?
I've never met a Ulysses.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good one. We also had a president whose first name was Barack. How many Baracks have you met in your lifetime?
Not many.
We had a president whose first name was Bill. How many Bills have you met in your lifetime?
I've not kept count of those.
Quite a few Bills. Quite a few Bills. Anyway, Timberwood Taphouse is closed for the time being because of the Omicron COVID-19 variant. Jordan asks, Jordan, this is a good question. I'm going to text you back right now. Jordan, I'm giving you props on the show right now. Giving you props on the show right now. Jordan texts me this question. How does Timberwood plan to compensate their employees? Seems tragic to do this to them right before Christmas. That's a good question. Don't you think?
What's the question?
Closing the restaurant because of Omicron today, which is December 22nd, Wednesday. And Jordan asks, how does Timberwood plan to compensate their employees? Seems tragic to do this to them right before Christmas. That's a good question.
I think it depends on how much they plan to do over Christmas. I mean, how many restaurants are open on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? Is that really a big time for? The
bowl games are going on. Football's going on. College football's going on. That's very much a sports bar. It's a tap house.
Fair enough.
And Jordan, look, everyone needs help. KJ says she'll hire him. He says this. He says, tell any of their employees, Jordan says, tell any of their employees to reach out to me if they need assistance for the holiday. It's tragic. I'm dropping this right now on the show. Everyone needs help right now. Staffs are empty. Employers need staff. Certainly in the restaurant level. That's a really good question, Jordan. How are their employees compensated and paying their bills if the restaurant is closed? That's a good question. I'm empathetic, more Ebenezer and less Stalin, of their plight, ownership and staff at this time of year. I am empathetic. Oh, man. All right, let's get to some comments. This is from Kelsey. Kelsey, you watch the show all the time. I appreciate you watching the show. Jerry, the show was hilarious today. I want you to know that you're my first news source and my only news source. You have a responsibility to keep us informed. Please realize we count on you for what's going on in Charlottesville. I actually do realize that. I appreciate you watching the show, and I'm very grateful for your commitment and your viewership and your listenership, Kelsey, and your participation on the show. And I realize that many folks no longer are sitting on a couch watching a box at a set time to get their content. I understand the influence that we have with this platform, and I take it seriously. I very much do. Noel Jurgensen. Hello, Noel. I did not have chicken pox when I was little, and I had to have the vaccine when my daughter got the vaccine. As it is a live vaccine and you are at risk, he can get the antibody test to check and see if he had it. You should get the antibody. She's asking you to get these. She's concerned about you.
I wouldn't even know where to get the antibody test.
It's called, is it varicella zoster virus antibody? Varicella zoster? Is that right, Noel?
The varicella is the...
Look at this. This guy's walking encyclopedia. Well, varicella zoster virus antibody. She wants you to get the antibody test. Will you promise Noelle you'll get this?
No, who the heck am I going to get chicken pox from?
You're around your niece.
So?
Kids get
But now there's a vaccine. So she'll get the vaccine when she's in between a year and a year and a half old?
I don't know.
Well, that's what I read.
That's when they get the vaccine?
Yeah, 12 to 15,
Our son has the chickenpox
months.
vaccine, right, sweetheart?
He's got to.
Our son has the chickenpox vaccine.
Can I help you?
A lot to cover. We're doing a live talk show right now. Well, you can go back to the one shot on me if you need to here, J-Dubs. Yes, he does have the vaccine. So much to cover, guys, on the program. It's the Wednesday edition of the show. We are back in the saddle on Tuesday. We're very, 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 very grateful for your listenership and your viewership on the I Love CVille Network. Judah, you did well today. We're going to make the Judah Cam more of a consistent aspect of that. What was that? Was that a viewer and a listener?
I don't think so.
What was he saying?
I don't think he can talk, but he was looking for help. Okay.
All right. Thank you for joining us, guys. We're grateful. We're back in the saddle tomorrow. Today y mañana at 10:15 a.m. tomorrow, then the I Love CVille show right before Christmas. We're grateful for your listenership and viewership. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care.